everyone. Welcome to Mrs. Adams' fourth grade exhibition on their project of food waste. As we sit there and begin this journey, we want to first and foremost thank you for taking your time out of your busy day to join us. And we know that these kids have worked extremely hard, and we are really excited to share that with an authentic live audience. And so we're here today to showcase and celebrate the work of these incredible fourth graders, which you are going to see here in just a second. Before we begin with that and have them work their magic for the learning, just a couple reminders as we get going here today. First, just make sure you're muted for the respect of the presenters and speakers. We will have a time for Q&A after they share their learning journey and their products with you. So you'll have an opportunity to come off mic, or you can use the chat, which is in the Zoom, depending on the way your Zoom is set up. Probably most likely at the bottom, there's an icon that says chat. So throughout the presentation, while students are presenting, if you have a question or there's something that you want to know more about from these students and their work, please put that in the chat. So when we get to the Q&A, we can move through that process quickly and be prepared to answer as many questions as possible. And then you can always ask questions at that point as well. But we'll be monitoring the chat as you guys put in feedback, questions that you have, things you want to know more about, for the students to come back up at the end to be able to further explain whatever it is you want to know. And just to remember that this is a celebration of learning. These kids have worked incredibly hard. They have had to work through lots of ups and downs and pivots, as you're going to hear from them. And so we're really excited for them to share their journey with all of you today.
Hi, my name is Cambry. Our focus for the school year was changemakers. We studied changemakers through fictional characters as well as historical figures during the Industrial Revolution and the Great Depression. We realized that by studying and learning from these characters and others, that their perspectives allow us to understand what motivates them to behave the way they do. Understanding this journey opens the door for us to evaluate our own journey. When we open our eyes to this, we get a new perspective. These opportunities and patterns lead us to make change and influence others. We listened to a podcast and realized that we too could become change makers. The podcast helped us to explore questions like, what is hunger versus food insecurity? This started our journey. Our journey began by exploring hunger globally, which led us to be curious about hunger in our own community. As you will hear, we met with several experts globally and then locally to ask questions and develop a goal so that we could help out and take action. To launch our student journeys, let's begin with the awareness and education video to introduce our problem and our experts.
So we're going to play a short video here from our education awareness team. And before we do that, we do want to make sure you have access to the project's website so you can see all the students' work and learning journeys. Obviously, we have a lot of incredible kids in a short amount of time. So while we're going through this today, in case you want to look and see if you are connected with one of these awesome students, you have an opportunity for that. So I'm going to put that in the chat here now, and then we're going to then segue back over to this video that the students have created.
Hi, we are the AEs, and we are going to share a journey with you.
We looked at the word's global perspective. We thought that it meant around the world perspective. Then we thought about hunger from a global perspective before we started thinking about it in our local community.
We found the difference between hunger and food insecurity. The difference is that if you are food insecure, you don't have enough of the resources for food. Hunger means that you have no food and you are starving.
But before all of this getting, we listened to podcasts. This is the step in this project that got us started in food waste, and it inspired us to make a difference in our community and schools.
Experts on food waste. Livingston Kigodi. He has helped us learn about the global and local's perspective. Christina McDonough. She helped us find out that we should educate PV about food waste here. Mrs. Gamble. She helped us see how much food waste 4th grade has at Forest Grove. Sarah Chen. She has helped our group plan out how to educate others. Mr. Maurer, he has helped us find all these amazing experts and build a compost like he's doing in the picture.
Hi, we are the AEs. AE stands for Awareness and Education. We have found a lot of information we would like to share with you. You are probably wondering why we are doing this. We are trying to reduce food waste from going to the landfill. We thought that the biggest problem was that people are uneducated about this problem. The average American family of 4 throws away the cost of between $1,365 to $2,275. 30 to 40% of our food is tossed in the U.S. landfill, so about 210 to 150 pounds of food thrown away each year. In the U.S., we waste $1.2 billion per year worth of food thrown away in schools across the U.S. that leads to landfills producing deadly gas called greenhouse gas that kills animals who breathe it in. Americans waste enough food every day to fill a 90,000-seat football stadium. 34 adults are food insecure, and the last fact for today's video is food is the largest material thrown away in landfills. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it interesting, come and watch more. As we said in the beginning, we are trying to build awareness and educate others about this problem.
Okay, so coming up next, there will be students will be sharing their learning journeys with you, and that's kind of a different way of looking at education. So what does this mean? Well, students will reflect on the skills and dispositions that they have fine-tuned and developed along the way in this project by facing stuck points, by working together to problem solve, by analyzing their community in a way that they have never done before. So as you listen to the students sharing their journeys, pay attention and listen for students talking about and engaging in opportunities for collaboration, for communication, for critical thinking, for system thinking, pivoting and flexibility, and creative solutions along the way.
One last thing that we want to show before we get all these kids rocking and rolling is a short video mixtape about how this project matters to them as themselves as students in their learning journey. So we want to cue that up, and then we'll get to the kids to you live and in the flesh here.
Hi, my name is Kristen Adams, and I am a 4th grade teacher here at Forest Grove Elementary. In the next section, you are going to be listening to students use their voice to talk about why this project mattered. They're also going to give their perspective on learning new skills and how they played an active and equal role in all of the planning, the learning, and leading the classroom instruction. The ultimate goal was to encourage each of the students to engage and empower them individually as well as collectively to be lifelong learners. I hope you enjoy.
When I was productive in this project, I was building on the skill of a successful collaborator. I became a successful collaborator by making videos to share with the district. It taught me to be strong in my words and to stick to my perspective so I can influence the perspective of others.
This project impacted me as a critical thinker because when our group works, I always have to think hard because there's a lot of things I don't understand. I'm also not used to the questions our teacher gives us to answer because I've never had to do something similar like our food waste project. Doing this project has changed me to become a deeper thinker. This project has impacted me as a learner because I had to persevere through things I've never done and experienced. It also impacted me as a thinker because it will help me get ready for future learning similar like this.
This project mattered because most of the world doesn't even know about this problem. We had to dig deep and be creative in order for us to create our video series. We had a lot of challenges that made us go out of our comfort zone, like when I had to be adaptable and accept the photos. Most of the challenges were communicating clearly while recording. In our videos, our goal was to influence perspectives and action.
This project impacted my thinking because I wouldn't have thought food waste could be so bad or take over the landfill. By asking questions and doing research and talking to experts, I learned about the ever-changing environment we live in. I had to be flexible when my group wasn't listening to each other about the slide deck. Being flexible taught me that not everything is going to go my way, so I have to push through the challenges that get in my way.
Hi, I'm Reagan O'Connor, and this is my elevator speech. This project helped me be flexible and adaptable when we had to make a compromise on our slide decks. We all wanted to be the one creating the slide deck. I grew from this experience when I spoke up and told my group that we all have to work together. I personally have had to be flexible and adaptable in this project because my brain has not known about this in the world, and all this new learning is hard, but at the same time fun. What I did for a change is different than a regular classroom because they would study and tell others about it, but our classroom is different because we collaborate and discuss. I've learned to stick with it. Have a nice day. This project impacted me to be a creative thinker when I had to create a prototype developing new possibilities. This helped me be a creative thinker because it took a lot of effort to get this prototype just right. This project also helped me develop a deeper understanding of the real world and how it works. This project impacted me by helping me learn that in order to produce quality results, you have to adjust and change to keep trying to help your group. This means that you have to dig deep and be a creative and critical thinker so your ideas add value and are important. And you can be willing to trust your group and make assumptions. Like when we were not sure how big to make the latch and we got the measurements wrong, so we had to remeasure and retry.
This project has impacted me by showing me that you have to generate questions to communicate a clear message. It gave me a new perspective about the world we live in. This project taught me about the importance of driving change. This project impacted the way I thought about hunger because I realized that people are suffering from hunger. It helped me learn how to be a critical thinker by realizing the change that we can make in our school, by influencing perspectives to be taken to action.
So that's a small snippet here of half the class. If you want to see other students on the website that we provided, you can access all the students' impact statements of why this project matters. But for the sake of time and why you're here is you want to hear and see the kids live and in the flesh and hear them speak and not just watch videos the entire time. But we wanted to set that foundation for you. So at this point, we are going to bring the incredible students up for them to talk about their learning journey.
Hi, my name's Finn. Our group had to look at the current status and do an audit of the food waste here at Forest Grove. Once we visited with our experts and understood what foods were being wasted, we got to work creating a system to collect food wasted here, and so we could get a step closer to being a change maker. We found that at PV, we waste for about 4 gallons of milk per day at each elementary school, which costs about $17,000 per year. This is an example of our milk waste data sheet. We collected milk 3 days a week for 2 weeks, just from the 4th grade. We rounded and multiplied to get to 3,000 fluid ounces wasted by our elementary schools here at PV. On average, we collected 4 pounds per day.
of fruit and vegetables just from our fourth grade classes here at Forest Grove. This was added to our class compost. The planning process was the hardest for us because we had to get permission from the school and plan how we were going to collect milk, and then fruits and vegetables to put in the compost barrel. We created a poster that set our goals. Then we generated a letter to Miss Schutte for permission to set up an audit in the cafeteria. We also had to make sure that what we collected was able to go in the compost. Here is an audit poster that we used to plan our journey. Also, we had a field notebook that we used to keep all of our notes in so that we could look back if we needed to. Here we are working on researching and what foods can go in the compost and how to display our data. Hi, my name is Vaughn, and one of the barriers that we had was that we had to adjust to fluid ounces when measuring. This gave us a more accurate look at how much milk to actually waste. We learned that with food waste, you cannot put the bucket on the scale by itself because it won't pick up the weight of the bucket. We solved this by somebody getting on the scale and the same person getting on the scale with the bucket. This is a picture of us measuring food waste in our cafeteria. We partnered with Sarah Chen, who is a high schooler student at PV. Who also was looking at how to reduce the food waste at her school. She helped us come up with how to accurately keep data. If we were to do this again, we would remember to be as precise as we can before measuring the waste. It would be nice to know what to collect beforehand because there are certain foods that can go into the compost, so every time we collect, we wouldn't have to ask, can this go in the compost? This is the fourth grade dumping milk into the bucket. We also have a yellow bin in our lunchroom that if someone is in its own package and it hasn't been opened, students can put it in the bin and it will be given to King's Harvest here in our town. If we were to do, that's it.
Hi, I'm Olivia. I'm part of the Awareness and Education group. I'm going to tell you about the process of our slide deck. Our group made a video to share with you all. After we did that, we are given the task to create a slide deck too. At first, we had to take photos to put into our slide deck. After we took the photos, we had to start making the script. Our group started out rough, but after successfully making a strategy, we started pulling our slide deck together. We split up into 4 groups so that we could get the slide decks done faster, but we would soon learn to take our time.
Hi, my name is Harper Sells. I am also a part of the Awareness and Education group, and I am going to be walking you through our planning and barrier stage. We had to go back and look at the notes from our global and local experts to figure out what we needed in our videos. We had to get a lot of feedback from teachers to move forward on our work. We had to accept feedback and remember that they are just trying to help us and our work. We had to generate questions to move forward in our work. We had a few struggles that challenged us. Some things we were not comfortable with, but we had to come out of our comfort zones to move forward. We struggled with figuring out who will type for our groups because we all wanted to do it. We also struggled with the Adobe Express food waste video because only one person could be on the video at a time. We figured out that we should just edit on one computer at once, or we are working on different things. We also had some disagreements. We had to move past our disagreements to make the video. We had to find out how to use everybody's ideas to move forward.
After we got the script done for the slideshow, we tried to check it with Miss Adams. She sent us back to the rewriting stage of the project. After rewriting several times, we finally got a yes on the slide deck and a yes to continue the project. Something my group learned is that hurdles are supposed to challenge you, not make you give up. We wanted to give up, but we did not, and it turned out to be a masterpiece.
Hi, my name is Alice Knudsen. We designed and created a compost planter. We had to influence our principal on the importance of composting. He gave us 3 hard questions that challenged us to think outside of our comfort zone. He told us our project had to have meaning, and our project had to be connected to our learning journey. There, we could have impact while taking action. These are pictures of us working on the design. We had to plan where the compost bin would go, and had to ask permission from Miss Heinem, our science teacher, to put the bin outside of the classroom. We looked at 3 different ways to make a compost and decided on a compost bill because it was quick, easy, and cheap. We also needed a bin that we could rotate ourselves and make sure we could open and close. One of the questions we had to answer was, why is food waste a problem in the landfill? Here you see us researching and mind mapping our thoughts. Also, this is a picture of us building with Mr. Mauer.
Hi, my name is Cooper. When we first started building, we didn't think about the size of the latch and the opening. We learned the lesson of measure twice and cut once. Yes, we had to modify our design. One of the barriers we also learned is that the teachers let us figure this out on our own and figure out how to fix it. This is more evidence of us working together to create and design the barrel. It is helpful to remember next time we create a compost, we should plan it out before we get ahead of ourselves, because we all rushed to get it done, and that led us to having to redo the entire bottom half. I would remember next time we need to communicate better to our group and make them feel good. We could help our group because our group would move faster and we wouldn't make as many mistakes.
Hi, my name is Peter, and my group was held accountable for creating a compost bin. We first started the compost by researching what other schools have done. We then researched different models that we could do for our compost bin. This was our planning and process. This is another picture of the final compost barrel. We first started planning the compost by researching what other schools have done. We then researched different models that we could do for our compost bin. After that, we started researching more on the compost and what we can do with the compost. These are examples of how we documented our work. This is also our first draft of our prototype. This is our second and final examples of the prototype we designed.
Hi, my name is Kaden. A few problems we ran into were when we drilled on the pieces of wood to the legs we put them on wrong, which led us to having to unscrew and re-drilling everything. We were flexible and adaptable when we recognized when change was needed, when we had to unscrew, re-drill, and remeasure. We as a group had to shift our thinking when we figured out how much more hands-on making the compost would be. If I were to build/create a compost again, I would make sure we measured correctly and make sure we know exactly where to drill and mark with the Sharpie, because it would save us a lot of time.
Hi, my name is Tegan, and we designed and created a milk jug compost to make a nutritious and rich soil out of fruits and veggie scraps. We also wanted to do our part by reducing the amount of food that went into the landfill, so we researched how to do small compost bins to have at our own homes. The purpose of our work was to reduce the amount of food waste in the landfill. We learned about different perspectives. We modified our design so that we could have a great compost to help our environment. Here you see a food recovery hierarchy. One of the excerpts that we talked with Miss McDowell helped us to understand that there were several ways we were able to help keep food waste out of the landfill, and that through composting we could make a difference. This was a huge pivot for us. At this point in our discovery, we realized that if we created compost bins and contracted and concentrated on food waste here at Forest Grove, we are making a difference and becoming change makers. Hi, my name is Cambry. We had to do research, and as you can see in our planning book, this is the process we used to help us create our plan. These are the pictures of us making our compost bins in the classroom and making sure we have the right materials. We ran into a few problems, which was we did not know how to make a nutritious compost. And the struggle that we had was we did not always focus on the tasks we were given. We made a list of the uses of our compost so that we had a plan for what we would use the compost for when it was done. The impact is that we reduce the amount of food waste going to landfill, and you have a rich soil to use to plant fruits and vegetables. This is us making our compost again, and also a picture of our field notebooks and us learning about the food recovery tires. This is our compost.
Hi, my name is Addie. Before we open it up to questions, we would like to once again thank our experts and let them know they inspired us and helped us in taking the first steps into becoming change makers. We are very proud of our work and couldn't have done it without you. We hope we continue to inspire you.
So there are the presentations from the students, and we want to open it up to any questions that any of you might have for any of the groups, and we will work to answer that. And if you could put those in the chat, or if you want to come off mic, that'd be great. And Christina, I see that you just left a comment, which I really appreciate. And I'm really good at doing this to people and put you on the hot spot, but because you were one of the experts that did help guide us, and actually you played a critical point in helping us realize a pretty aha moment. This is your first time kind of seeing the end product or result. Do you want to come off mic and share any thoughts or insights? Because I know it's been a while since you've seen and heard from the work from when you first came into the classroom.
I have been so impressed by these students. I was so excited to come back to the health department after the presentation and tell my colleagues about the future public health professionals and how everybody understood the concept of the importance of reducing food waste, not only to help feed hungry people, but also to help the environment, because you don't want those methane gases going into our atmosphere. And I'm so impressed at the amount of work that the students put into the website, learning how to compost, learning how to measure and collect food waste data at the schools. They really have done a wonderful job, and I cannot wait to share the video and the slide deck with our Food Rescue Partnership stakeholders. So thank you for inviting us and including us on this learning journey.
Thank you, Christina, for those words, and we really appreciate it, and really thank you and all the work that you do, not just for us, but for the community at large, as we learned a great deal about this topic of food scarcity, food waste, and everything else in between. So thank you for doing that. At this point, if you have any questions for students, feel free to throw those in the chat. They are eager to answer questions. If you want to know more about anything that they did in particular, we know we kind of just did a 30,000 foot view presentation on what they did. And again, I'll put the link to the project website in the chat in case some of you joined, maybe not right away when I first shared it. I'm going to stop sharing our screen here so we can see people. But we'll give it a second here to see if there's any questions anybody has or any comments you want to leave. All right, so we do. All right, so we've got a question coming in. What is one thing that you are doing differently at home as a result of what you've learned? So let us find a couple students here as they all look at each other. And we'll get a few up here to answer this question. That's a great question.
My name is Maddie Coleman, and this is my answer. I'm starting to not waste food at my house and starting to eat my meal fully and not waste.
Well, as a grown-up engaging with this work, it has impacted me too, because I'm going to the grocery store in a much more intentional way and thinking about what stuff I actually need and can use versus all the things that just taste and sound good in the moment.
I am now telling my neighbors about compost because they have a compost bin but don't know how to use it.
Saving and eating more of my food instead of wasting it.
I have a question for the kids. What were the hardest difficulties of working like in this team?
For those on the Zoom, I'll turn the camera on here in just a second, but we have some other classrooms that are here watching live. And so we have sixth grade here as well. So that was a question from a sixth grader. We'll now have some fourth graders come up. Just so if you're watching out there in Zoom land, you want to know where that's coming from. So we were going to get some kids up here to answer that question on some of the hardest parts of the project.
One of the hardest parts of the project for me was when we were making the videos. Everyone wanted to edit at the same time, but for the website that we were using, only one person could do it, so that was really hard for our group.
One of the hardest parts that my group had was whenever everyone had their own idea about what kind of compost bin we wanted to make, but we had to collaborate and decide on just one idea.
Hello, I'm a sixth grader, and one of my questions was, what was the most enjoyable part or exciting part of your work?
The most exciting part for me was when we were collecting food waste in our cafeteria.
Hi, I'm a sixth grader, and one of my questions was, how did the kids stay on task when some other people were doing something else?
We saw a question from Christy, and we've been working on this for 3 months.
How our group stayed on task was that we had to remind ourselves that this is a fun project, and in order to keep doing these kinds of projects, we needed to stay on task and get to the end of them.
In my group, it was definitely the part where we got to build the compost, and thinking about that was definitely the best part, and kept us on task.
Hi, I'm a 6th grader. My name is Moises. I have a question for the 4th graders. How did this project prepare you for working on projects in the future? This was a hard project, so it will help us in the future. When we do other hard projects, we won't be as stressed.
It challenged me, and it taught me to not give up even if I wanted to.
This project also helped me experience authentic learning.
Hi, I have a question. My question is, I'm very aware that you guys have had multiple barriers, and I was wondering how you guys overcome them. How did you overcome your barriers in your group?
How we overcame our failures is that we had to retry and we never gave up. By pushing through and persevering.
All right, so I think that's proper time for our Q&A. What I want to do here quickly as we wrap up, just some optimistic closures, just again celebrate the incredible hard work of the students and the teachers and all the experts, whether they were here locally or Livingston on the other side of the world. That's take a lot of his own work to be able to help us build a better awareness of this topic. And as we go through this, hopefully it's a springboard to create action, not just here at Forest Grove, but in our own lives here as well. And so as we close, what we want to do is just, we'll turn this computer around so you can see all the students here in one final hurrah. And we will do just a quick and proper thank you to all of you who have taken time to listen on our presentation live here today. So how about on the count of 3, we'll do a good, respectful thank you to everyone that has taken time to join us live here on the session. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Awesome. And that's our presentation. So thank you so much for attending. We'll get the recording and the links out via email. And we greatly appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to listen to these kids work. Thank you and have a good day.